Good evening, folks. Welcome to Curveball Convos with your boys at Carolina Curveball. Looking forward to a great show tonight as we inch closer to the season, as the ice and snow is melting day by day, or if you're in Greensboro, you got some this morning. Or, Reed, are we going to get more snow and more precipitation on opening weekend?
I think we're gonna be fine. It might be a little chilly next weekend around the state, but um, the boys will be able to play baseball next weekend.
I will say, me personally, if we have some rain or any weather, I will be very disappointed. But then again, I was listening to the D1 guys today, and with Eric Bakich, and he's so about pushing the season back. But that's another wormhole we can go down one day. But Colby, how's it going, man?
Good. Made it through another cold week. Ready to dive deep on these team previews.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Braxton, how's it going, brother? As we inch closer to the season.
Yeah, going good. Like Kobe said, we're another week closer. So hopefully the cold weather continues to phase out here. I couldn't be more excited to be a week away. As you know, our content picks up and preseason polls start coming out, which we'll talk about tonight. And yeah, I mean we just keep inching closer, and yeah, couldn't be more excited.
Can't be more excited either. And we're just going to go ahead and kick it off right now for those listening, for those watching. We are going to start our 2026 team previews. Right now, we have 10 teams out. We will release the following 18 tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. So right now we're going to show the 10 teams that we have previewed on Spotify. I will read them off to you, and kind of each of us are going to go through and kind of break down what each team has, what they have lost, what they have coming in, as well as just our overall predictions and thoughts on the season. So, Braxton, first we have the South Carolina Gamecocks coming off a disaster season at 28 and 29. Paul Maneri, LSU legend, in his second season down there in Columbia. Just an absolute, just going to not beat around the bush here, just an absolute train wreck of a season last year. And then when it came out last year, of all the internal problems of just practice, of coaching, of just buy-in, of just the simple things, it's not ideal. And they do have some pretty key losses in Nathan Hall, Ethan Petrie, and then also Reed. Going into this season, as we inch closer, they have two more major losses going into the year. So just what do those two, and KJ Scooby and Jake McCoy? So what's going on in Columbia, Reed?
Yeah, well, Jake McCoy is a huge loss. They were kind of counting on him to be the Friday night guy this year, be that veteran leader presence on a heavily new team of newcomers coming in. So, I mean, that's a huge loss. That's really disappointing. Out for the season with Tommy John. KJ Scobie, I don't know if they've officially ruled the extent of how long he's going to be out, but judging from what I've seen from reports from South Carolina, it might be a significant injury. And then I think they're also dealing Alex Philpott too. Has suffered an injury too, but looks like it just came out. He'll only be out a few weeks. Paul Maneri looks like he's got to have his hands very full again in a brutal schedule. Obviously they play in the SEC. Every weekend's going to be a test. I mean, it could be another rough season that South Carolina's looking at.
100%. And Braxton, as you
Scobie was back
go ahead.
Scobie was back fielding at practice today. I saw he's going to try swing this weekend.
Okay, good. That is huge, huge news for them. And as I was touching on, Braxton, you were doing the research for these teams, and they had the longest list of notable newcomers. They have some guys coming in that can absolutely swing the bat. Tons of double-digit home run guys at previous locations. Just so they definitely have the pop and the power there, but will they be able to mix it together?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. They did really, really well in the portal. I think you look at some of these names, Patrick Evans, obviously jumping off the charts with his numbers at Florida Tech. Aaron Jamison, another JUCO outfielder. Dawson Harmon was one of the standout JUCO players this year at Central Florida, who's a really, really good JUCO. They seem to be in the JUCO World Series a lot. Logan Suter as well from Purdue. We've talked about him a little bit. Ethan Lazama from Western Kentucky, I think will start in the outfield for them as well. And then I think, with these injuries we're talking about on the mound, I think Amp Phillips is really going to play a big role for this team. Can he be the Friday guy or maybe the Saturday guy in the SEC week in and week out and compete for them to get wins? We know what he did at Upstate last year and a really, really talented arm. But I think it's going to be even more of a role than he kind of initially expected from him, with McCoy going down. So I'm really interested to see how he does in the SEC.
For sure. And speaking of the SEC, Colby, as we were getting ready for this show, we were going to bring up the preseason polls, and you said, do we need to bring up the SEC because South Carolina is predicted to finish right at the bottom? So, what would you say will be a good season for first Palminieri in his second year?
Yeah, picked second to last in the SEC in the preseason poll. I think finishing somewhere around the middle of the pack, I think, would be a successful year for South Carolina after the disaster last year. Picking up on Amp Phillips, Manieri actually announced today he's starting on Saturday next weekend. So he's going to have a major role to start the season. I really like Gunther from Wake Forest. He was good out of the pen for Wake Forest last year coming to South Carolina. So I think around the middle of the pack should be considered successful in the SEC this year.
I am with you, sir. So those are the South Carolina Gamecocks. We are now going to move on to the
I think it's Upstate, yeah.
USC Upstate Spartans in Braxton. As a former Spartan, I'll let you lead us off, sir.
Yeah, obviously they got hit hard in the portal, as we know. I believe it was 4 Power 4 losses. Scott Campbell, one of the more notable ones, going to Kentucky. Scott Newman also headed to the SEC, to Georgia. Van Sheehan, the shortstop, gone to Miami, and Amp Phillips we just talked about at South Carolina. So that's a pretty big core there, both on the mound and in the lineup. Making their moves. But you do bring back Johnny Sweeney, who was your guy last year. Obviously, the brother of head coach Kane Sweeney. And you're also bringing back, I believe he was Big South Freshman of the Year. I could be wrong on that, but he was certainly a standout freshman, Henry Zenor, in the outfield, who's a very, very good player. And Preston Lucas as well behind the plate. So you're bringing back a couple of leaders. Also, Jake Armsey is a veteran leader in that locker room, my former teammate, who's gonna do good things for them as well in the infield. And then you go in and you got to revamp in the portal, and I think they did a good job of that. Kane Sweeney's a really good recruiter. He goes out and gets a lot of JUCO talent every year. And he gets talent from different levels. And I think that they're going to be just fine in the Big South, but it will be a race between probably them, High Point, and Winthrop. So they're going to have to really, they've got a very tough non-con as well. We've looked at their schedule a little bit. They go down to Texas. They start the year on the road in Alabama, playing South Alabama. So it's going to be really tough for them early, and I think that's going to set the stage for them to have a good Big South season. I think testing themselves early like this is really good for them, and ultimately that's going to help them down the road. So I'm hoping to see them repeat as Big South champs, but we'll see.
Yeah, for sure, and it's going to be a tough Big South this year. And someone I want to touch on that they brought in on notable newcomers that was not on the preview that we have is Keenan Bowman from East Carolina. At one point was starting at East Carolina for an extended period of time, and Reed Tobin just kind of this Upstate team. I mean, is this their Big South to lose?
I wouldn't say it's theirs to lose. Look, we know they can always hit the ball. Will they be able to pitch? Obviously losing Amp Phillips to South Carolina. All these teams in the Big South can compete. I don't think there's a clear favorite. I think, like Braxton said, I think High Point, Upstate, and Winthrop separate themselves from the other teams in that conference. So it should be really fascinating to see how that top 3 plays out this year.
Yeah, 100%. Really looking forward to seeing Kane Sweeney in his second year, coming off of 36 and 25 and a fantastic year in the Big South. So The next preview we will have is, drumroll please, the Charlotte 49ers. And how about that? We have a 49er on the staff. So, Mr. Gallimore, take it away, sir.
Yeah, Charlotte, very competitive last year in the American. Great year behind Blake Gillespie. Obviously got drafted by the Yankees, so he's not with Charlotte anymore. Losing some other ones like Poteet behind the plate and Noah Furst and outfield to Ohio State, but they return a lot. You got Dawson Bryce, who is American preseason player of the year. Bain in the outfield. Um, and Joseph Taylor is one of the best bullpen arms in the Carolinas. And you look at the portal class, Woodard really hit on his portal class last year, and I think he's going to do it again this year. DiMartino from UNCW is going to be a huge piece for the Niners, and I think top 3 in the American, top 2 in the American is definitely in reach. I think they're picked preseason 3rd in the American poll.
Correct, yes. And I've heard some talks of maybe the American being a more than 2 bid league this year. Maybe they're a 3 bid league. And I think if they are a 3 bid league, that Charlotte is definitely one of those teams. And as you touched on, they do have some pretty key returners in Dawson Bryce, Carson Bain. Joseph Taylor is one of the best relievers in the American without a doubt. And kind of like you said, they have some big arms coming in. They have Walker Morgan from Walter State, who was 8-0 last year, 4.19 ERA, 69 strikeouts. That's pretty good. Drew Munn from Central Connecticut State, 8-3, 5 ERA, 55 strikeouts, 80 innings pitched. Just they have a lot of depth on the mound. Really looking forward to seeing what they do. Reed Tobin, as a former American graduate as well, what are you looking to see from the Charlotte 49ers this year?
Yeah, I really like the makeup of the Charlotte team. You bring back key guys too, and Bain and Cribs too. But Woodard always does a great job. Always does a great job in the portal. You look at Gillespie last year; he really didn't have much of an impact at Georgia. You bring him on. I mean, he was dominant, one of the best pitchers in the country last year. So, I mean, maybe there's a guy in the bullpen or coming in from the portal right now that we're not talking about that could put up similar numbers. So yeah, I mean, I definitely think Charlotte will finish in the top 3 of the American. I think they can push UTSA for that second spot.
Without a doubt. And Braxton, do you have any thoughts on the 49ers? Sure.
Yeah, I do. I agree with you guys. I think Charlotte can push for the American. A couple guys not on here that I wanted to kind of mention as well. Actually, going back real quick to the point about the American maybe being a 3 bid league, I think they could definitely be a 2 bid league. I think the only way they would be a 3 bid league is if ECU has a really good year and someone else wins the tournament, and then maybe UTSA has a really good year too, where they get at larges, and then obviously the tournament winner would get in. But Charlotte, I really like what they did in the portal. I think a couple guys on here, not included, of their newcomers: Adrian Jimenez from VCU, an infielder; Todd Hudson, an outfielder from Miami, like the U. He was also at Liberty previously as well. He's a big frame. I think he can even pitch a little bit, but I think he might just be playing outfield. And then Dylan Kuntz, who was at Kentucky last year. He was actually at Campbell in previous years, where we know him from as well. So a couple even more newcomers than the guys listed that I think are going to play a lot of innings and a lot of at-bats for Charlotte as well. So I'm pretty high on this team. I've got them in my preseason top 10, I think, in the Carolinas, which look out for our rankings coming out here soon next week when we get the top 12 rolling. But yeah, I think they're going to be very good again. Coach Woodard, like you said, Colby, he's hit on the portal. It seems like every year, and they just keep getting better and better. And I think they're going to be right around regional talk here come the end of May.
That will be huge for sure. Thank you, guys. That is the Charlotte 49ers. And the next team, drum roll, please.
NC State.
NC State. Well, Colby, we're not going to go too far from you, sir. Elliott Avent in his 30th season. Just kind of let me read that sentence one more time. Elliott Avent, 30th season. Unbelievable, coming off a 35-21 season. Colby, what are you expecting from this pitching heavy NC State team this season?
I think they can definitely push to be a regional host. This non-conference schedule isn't great for metrics wise, I don't think. Obviously, they'll play midweeks against Coastal, UNCW, but other than that, it's a little weak, so they'll have to do a lot in ACC play to achieve being a host. But I think it's possible. You lose Fritton, that was your Friday night guy last year. You lose Sosa to Miami, and Hogue, who was the key in the lineup last year in left field. But you bring back McHugh, first baseman, who hopefully hits for more power this year. But the numbers right there: 365, almost 50 RBIs. And you bring back Marone, who was a Saturday guy last year, and then bring back Heath Andrews, who was a Sunday guy. So you have two guys that have done it, and then Duden moving from closer to the Sunday guy. So they have a lot of pieces. You bring back Anderson Nance, who had a stellar freshman year, similar to what Duden had a freshman year in the bullpen. And then you bring in guys like Dalton Bargo from Tennessee, who's a power bat in SEC. So they have a lot of tools. I think they can definitely push for a regional host and have big postseason goals.
100%. And Colby, Elliott Avent teams can always hit. They always find a way to hit the ball. But this year, it really seems like on the mound, I mean, they have as much talent as anyone in the entire country. So is this the year for Elliott and he goes out in the sunset?
Yeah, we'll see. The rumors about Avent was always that he was going to be here until the renovations got completed. And they're making progress, but I don't think it's close to being completed. Doak is so, but yeah, State can always hit. That's always their thing. But I think they have one of the top rotations in the ACC. So pair that with the hitting. You try to make their third College World Series since 2021 this year.
Reed, your thoughts on the Wolfpack?
Yeah, I like the makeup of this team. I think Avent has arguably one of his best pitching staffs he's had in his time here. I think they can really push Coastal and UNC for one of the best pitching staffs in the Carolina. Lose a decent amount of production from the plate. Obviously, bringing in Bargo from Tennessee is huge too. That'll be a power bat right in the middle for State. Frasman's back, which is huge. And then obviously Colby said McHugh's back too. I really like the makeup of this State team. I think they can push to finish in the top 4 in the ACC. And I think they'll definitely be right there in play to host a regional come May.
Braxton?
Yeah, I'm right there with y'all. I think this team will host. I think I'm pretty confident in saying that. I love the makeup of their rotation, like we've mentioned. They also bring back Ty Head, who is not on here. He's coming to do his sophomore season, I believe. Is that right, Colby? He's a sophomore, true sophomore.
I think he's due for a huge jump, freshman.
Yeah,
sophomore
I think he's gonna make a big jump this year. He looked really good at times last year for the Pack. Like you mentioned, Frostman is back too, another underrated outfield piece. And then I think, is it Mikey Ryan that they brought in from LSU? I think he's going to probably play shortstop up the middle with Luke Nixon. That's a really good middle infield, I think, too, as well. So this team is looking very strong, and I'm excited to see what they can do as well.
I think it really – sorry to interrupt. I think if Duden really takes that leap as coming from closer to that Sunday guy, could really elevate State and maybe push them to nationals top 8.
Colby, last night as we were talking about just baseball, did you want to touch on Mikey Ryan playing shortstop and Nixon in a second?
Yeah, Ryan will be a shortstop. LSU transfer, didn't play much, but high-rated recruit. Nixon at second, and Sherman Johnson, we have him in notable newcomers. He'll be playing third. Another name that isn't on here that could be thrown. He struggled last year, but Cooper Consiglio, southpaw, had a really good freshman year 2 years ago and struggled a lot last year, but had a really fantastic year in the Cape this summer. So that's another arm that potentially slide into that rotation spot if Duden doesn't work out, or be the anchor in the bullpen along with Anderson Nance.
Might be a big year for the Wolfpack and Raw this year. Next team preview, sir. The UNC Wilmington Seahawks. First, I want to say shout out Randy Hood for following us, liking our stuff, liking our content. Huge shout out to him. Reed, the Seahawks have lost a lot going into this season. So, what are kind of your expectations for them coming off a 34-24 year? They lose huge pillars of their program and Tanner Thatch, Cam Bagwell to Wake Forest, Zane Taylor drafted, Brock Willis to West Virginia, Brian Arnott he got drafted too, didn't he? Rex?
Yeah, athletic.
Yeah. So excuse me, Reed, just a lot, like 5 pillars right there of their program over the last couple of years are now no longer there. So where do they go from here?
Yeah, I mean, those are all really huge losses. Obviously, we know what Thatch just did in his the past 3 years at Wilmington, absolutely just tearing it up. But yeah, I mean, you bring back, there's some decent pieces you bring back. I mean, Connor Marshburn had a really solid season last year. Trevor Lucas too. They'll need him to take a much bigger jump this year at the plate. They bring in some new pieces here from the portal. Randy Hood always has him by the end of the season, always playing well. So it's going to be tough to win the CAA. Obviously, we saw what Northeastern did last year. They bring back some decent pieces. College of Charleston, Campbell look really improved and poised for a big year this year. So, I mean, it's going to be tough CAA now with divisions this year, the North and South division. So, I mean, I totally expect Wilmington to be there in contention at the end of the season, like Randy Hood always has.
Braxton?
I know, I'm right there with you. I think they do lose a lot. I'm a little worried about the production they're losing, but I think they will be highly competitive in the CAA, like you say, Reed. I think Kevin Jones is a really big guy to keep. I think he plays shortstop for them, if I'm not mistaken. He's a solid player. Cole Nelson as well. He showed some flashes last year with some power. Can he become consistent? I mean, he had 11 homers. He only had 235, but he showed like he could probably be a 15 plus 20 home run guy if he's really finding his form. Marshburn, I think that's an interesting point. You bring him up, Reed. I think if he can kind of translate into that ace role and kind of pick up where Bagwell and Taylor left off, and maybe take the reign this year and be that guy for them, that could be really huge for them. I mean, they need someone to step up like that, and he's kind of a veteran arm now. So we'll see if he can do that.
Colby, do you have any thoughts on the Seahawks, sir?
Yeah, I love Randy Hood. Randy Hood, all he does is win. In his 5 full seasons since being the UNCW's head coach, they've won 30-plus games every year. So I think he'll get it done this year. They're definitely going to win 30-plus games, in my opinion. And I know they lost a lot, but I like what they returned. I like Kevin Jones and Trevor Lucas a lot. And I think they'll anchor that team, and I think they'll be just fine the CAA.
Yeah, I think we're going to know a lot about this team after the first couple of weeks of the season.
Yeah, they open up with Maryland, I believe.
Yeah, correct. Shout out Lance Williams. So
I mean, they always play a tough schedule. So
yeah,
we don't really know what they're made of just yet, but we will definitely have a good glimpse of them soon. Next team preview, sir. No worries, brother.
Other thing on Wilmington, real quick, that top guy, the notable newcomers, he was from Brunswick. I think that's obviously like a big feeder school almost for them down there at the beach, much like some schools are to their. Like I don't want to say Pitt is to ECU, but it's right there as well. Like there's sometimes recruiting hotbeds at those JUCOs.
In the past, Pitt has been a hotbed for ECU. Not so much as of recent, but in the past, yes.
Yeah, but Brunswick to W has always kind of been a big one for sure.
Colby Thorndike, also from Brunswick, after his year at ECU, went to Brunswick, then now doing big things for Coastal. You'll definitely hear his name this year. So. And Braxton, we will leave it with you, sir. The North Carolina Tar Heels going into this season, they have the best pitching staff, I can probably say confidently, in the entire country. It was so funny. I remember it because I was talking to Stephen Igo of Hoist of Colors, who is at ECU today. we were just talking about some different teams in Carolinas, and I remember me and him 2 years ago when we were in Chapel Hill covering the game versus ECU. They had such a older veteran lineup, such a good lineup, but all the pitching was young. So they were basically saying how the guys covering Carolina was like, hey, well, we're going to be able to score, but we have a lot of young guys on the mound. And now it's the complete opposite, where you have this proven talent, all this proven talent on the mound, and then the lineup. This team's going to have to figure out their lineup sooner than later for sure because of the holes that they lost in the lineup. I just thought that was interesting that me and him were talking about that. But Braxton, this team is definitely led on the mound.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you mentioned, they used to be a younger staff. Obviously, I think that year DeCaro was a freshman. He was a
Correct,
standout
yes.
arm. They had Folger Boaz was probably, I think he might have been the Friday guy that
He
year, maybe
was.
the year
Mhm.
before. So if he can get back to that level, obviously he had the injury. I think they're really kind of banking on that. Lynch, we know, was really really good out of the
And
bullpen.
also want to touch on Mateus' freshman year. That year was phenomenal.
Yeah,
He went out with
he's a
injury.
Greenville native.
He went out with injury last year, so he is a phenomenal player, and I just want to touch on that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Lynch kind of, if he can transition into the start, he was mostly out of the pen last year till late in the year. But I think just him kind of transitioning to that starter role is going to be huge if he can be really, really good as a Sunday guy. Obviously you mentioned the offense. They lose a lot of offense. I mean, we know what they're losing. We've talked about it a lot on all these shows. Madera, Stokely, Kepley, Luke Stevenson, a first round pick as well. It's going to be hard to replace that, but that's why you go in the portal. You get guys like Owen Hull and Jake Schaffner and Eric Paulson, Cooper Nicholson, Macon Winslow coming over from Duke as well, going to probably catch most games for them. So you've got to find offense from somewhere, and I think most of it is going to be they're going to rely heavily on Gavin Gallagher as well to make this team go. I mean, we've seen what he done in regionals. I think he's hitting 500 plus in regional play over 2 years. I mean, he's been the MVP of the Chapel Hill Regional, two-time MVP of the Chapel Hill Regional in both years. So that what that kid's doing is unbelievable, and he's now in a draft year. So it's time for him to have his best year yet. And I think if the Carolina wants to get to where they want to go, they're going to need that out of him. So no pressure, but he's got to carry.
Yeah, Reed Tobin, I'll let you get your thoughts in, sir.
Yeah, I think Braxton says it best. Yeah, I mean, the Carolina pitching staff was pretty sensational last year. Obviously, you lose Jake Knapp, first team All American, 14-0, ACC pitcher of the year. Most teams would be worrying and freaking out who's going to be the guy. But DeCaro, he starts the year last year as the Friday night guy. Kind of struggled, righted the ship there towards the end of the season. Obviously, he'll move back to the Friday night role. I really think Lynch, Braxton. I think Lynch will be the Saturday night guy. I love what I saw out of him. He started that ACC tournament game against Clemson, was dominant in that game, and then dominant against Arizona before they pulled him. I think he went 7 1/3 career high. Pitched well against Oklahoma too in the regionals. Then you have McDuffie too, who had a sensational freshman year. I think if Mateus can come back to somewhat of his form from 2 years ago, coming off the injury. Same with Boaz. He pitched a little limited. I think it was 30 innings last year. If he can get back, he showed me a lot of signs early his freshman year 2 years ago. But, I mean, the biggest key is going to be the lineup. How do these transfers adjust? Obviously, Gallagher is going to produce, but, Forbes has always did well with bringing in transfers. You look at Kepley last year, Parks Harbor 2 years ago, for example. So, I mean, I think this Carolina team, if the bats can click, I think they can get back to Omaha, no doubt.
One more thing on Gallagher. I mean, if you remember last year, he started the season off like woefully.
Terrible.
Like I think
Yeah.
he was hitting like above 20, maybe was it two? I think he was below 200.
It was about like 220 going into late March.
So obviously he'll be looking to start a little better this year. I think I saw an interview with him talking about that, how he wants that regional play to kind of translate to the rest of the season. So we'll see how he starts, but I just wanted to throw that little nugget out there.
And Colby, your thoughts on the Heels going into the season, as we touched on, they're just so big on the mound and got to figure out that offense.
Yeah, I'm not worried at all about the offense. I think they'll be just fine. Obviously, coming off of 2 spectacular years, Omaha in 24, and then 1 game away from Omaha last year. I think they'll be fine. They're gonna be in the top 2 or 3 in the ACC, and I think the Omaha is perfectly in play for Carolina.
100%, no doubt. Thank you, Braxton. Looking forward to seeing what the Heels do in Chapel Hill. Next preview, drum roll, please.
Campbell.
Campbell Camels. Reed Tobin, you were a fan of this program coming off a not so good year of Chris Mark's first season after the departure. 25-31 this year, Reed. Not too many major departures. They do have some pretty key pieces coming back in Jet Music, who's first team all name, as well as Joe Simpson, who hit double digit home runs last year. Also have some really good additions coming in. They're bringing in 3 guys who hit double digit home runs at the lower level. But Reed Tobin, we've already talked about the CAA tonight. Where do you see the Campbell Camels finishing in the CAA?
Surely third time is the charm here. This will be their third year in the CAA. They really haven't lived up to expectations since they've joined the CAA. Obviously last year, Chris Marks' first year um, as head coach, but like you said, they bring back some decent pieces. Big fan of Jet Music. I've seen him play multiple times. I think he could be prime for a big year this year. Joe Simpson. If he could hit 15 plus homers. And then, they bring in Trent Rumley from Canisius, who hit over 330 double digit home runs last year. Will they be able to pitch though? Will be the key this year. They always play a very tough non-conference. I think they opened the season too. Is it Cal Poly they play, or is it Cal Poly? I mean, they're going to have their hands full opening weekend. So I'll be really curious to watch that. But I think just as us in the Carolinas are hoping that Campbell gets back to how they were 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Mason Smith. Shout out him for liking this tweet today. Looking forward to a good season from you, brother. 2-6, 5.61 ERA, 60 Ks and 61 innings pitched. Braxton, Reed Tobin already touched on it. Just them on the mound this year. There are some question marks there, and just last year they were kind of overpowered at the plate and on the mound. So going into this second season, they just got to find consistency and just kind of make their way back to where they were.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Reed. I'm actually very high on this team this year. I think they will turn a corner. Now, the only thing that I'm worried about is their pitching and their rotation. They lose. Was it Jake Murray? I think he was kind of their horse last year, the left-hander. But I think that they can find a couple guys to step up when given the ball on the mound, and I think that this team, at some point they're going to get back to Campbell baseball and being, in regionals year in year out, because I think that's what their fan base really really wants, and they're going to do anything to get them back at that level. You mentioned Joe Simpson; he's going to be huge for them. Maybe kind of take a leader type role. Darnell Parker as well, back at shortstop. He was a solid player. Can he take another step and maybe hit a little bit better for average? He'll get you the steals. He'll produce some runs, and I think he's a pretty solid defender too, if I'm not mistaken. I think he came from Wichita State last year. But yeah, I am worried about the pitching. I will say that, but I think they're going to find some guys to step up. Get in the zone, get outs, and have a much better season this go around in the CAA. And I think I might have a bold take on them coming, but I think I might be having them in a regional this year.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot to like about this lineup. It's just, can they figure the pitching out?
Yeah.
They're going to be able to score runs and hit for power this year. It's just all going to boil down to the pitching.
Colby, your thoughts on the Camels? Do you have them making a regional like Braxton?
I think they'll be close. I like Campbell too. Another name that we haven't thrown out there, Jonah Oster. He's coming back for his senior year. He was a regular in the lineup last year. I know he had a couple home runs against State. and Raleigh last year. Yeah, I like Campbell. I'm worried about the pitching, but I think the lineup is really good. If I'm not mistaken, so they're starting the year with Cal Poly this year. Didn't they start last year against a West
Santa
Coast team
Barbara.
too?
You see Santa
Yeah.
Barbara.
Open the
Santa
year?
Barbara. Yeah, they had a
Okay,
home
yeah.
and home with them the past 2 years.
Yeah, that's right.
Goodness gracious! Talk about
Yeah.
talk about a bill that Campbell Athletics is paying for those trips. Goodness gracious! Sorry, that's like off the rails, but I was just thinking about that back to
I
back
think
years. of baseball.
they're at home this year though.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay, okay, good. Jeez,
Yeah.
I was thinking that back to back trips to open the year. Jeez.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, boys, for the Campbell Camels.
All right,
Next, Reed Tobin, the East Carolina Pirates. I will lead this off as a former ECU Pirate myself. Not former, still am, but as a former hoist the colors intern and spent some time there. Reed going into this season, Cliff Godwin's 12th year, coming off a 35 and 27 year, a down year for his standards, I would say. They're losing not too much, I would say. I think they're losing more on the mound than in their lineup. Their biggest lineup pieces are their best was their best player Dixon Williams, in my opinion, and Riley Johnson, who battled injury last year. But losing guys like Ethan Young and Jake Hunter are massive losses, as well as Brad Pruitt and Lance Williams going to the transfer portal. But Reed, they are returning some guys in Braden Burris, Austin Irby, Jack Herring, Colby Wallace, and also two anchors on the mound in Ethan Norby and Sean Jenkins.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like about. If you're a Pirate fan, you should be excited going into the season. I certainly am. Is this the year they finally get over the hump and get to Omaha? They certainly have the talent to do it. I think Cliff really has one of his deepest pitching staffs he's had in his time here. You bring in some really good pieces from the portal. Gavin Van Kipken from West Virginia, who was really good 2 years ago with them, kind of struggled last year, but he kind of slots in to maybe the Saturday or Sunday starter for the Pirates this season. Then obviously you have Ryan Towers coming off injury too. He's been practicing a lot. Coaches have been high on him. So, I mean, if he can remain healthy, I mean, that's another arm you have there. Joseph Webb coming over too. And then you bring in some other decent pieces like Frank Sission too, Gavin Marley too. So I think, and then obviously what you're going to get from Norby, preseason first team All-American. And then and this lineup too. I really like the makeup of the lineup too. I mean, obviously, I would like to see Burris maybe hit for a little more power. Is he going to hit 389 again and bat near 400? I mean, if he could just bat 360 plus, that's still a fantastic year. Can Irby maybe turn into that 18 to 19 homer guy, 70 plus RBIs? But, I think one thing I've got my eye on, can Colby Wallace make that jump as a hitter? Obviously, he hit double-digit homers last year, but I'd like to see him hit for more average. Only batted about 250, 260 last year. I think if he can bat near the 300 range, really gives the offense another dimension. Jack Herring ended the season really well. Especially he had a really good regional down in Conway. You bring Yakam over from South Florida, proven AAC hitter. And then obviously they have a really good freshman class. We can touch on some of those guys maybe on another episode. But yeah, I'm very excited. Looking forward to next week to see them play. I think it's good that D1 didn't rank them in their top 25. I think let ECU play it out. They'll be tested early. We've mentioned it before on some of the other shows. I mean, those first 4 weekends they have very tough.
100%. Colby, your thoughts on the Pirates going into this season, sir?
Yeah, I like them. Definitely should be the favorite in the American like they are. And I love Ethan Norby, first rounder this upcoming year.
I agree. Braxton?
Yeah, definitely huge to keep a hold of Norby this year. I mean, if you don't have him, I think maybe fans are feeling a little bit different, but certainly a big piece of that staff. Yeah, I'm high on them again as well. I think they're going to be a lot better than last year in terms of the regular season. They had a lot of hiccups last year where maybe it was the younger, their age showing a little bit. I'm big on Austin Irby. I think this kid's a stud. I think he's going to be, borderline an American Player of the Year type of year from him. Obviously they had some pretty bad news here recently. Kaysen, is that right? With some injury news. Has
Yes,
that been broken yet?
Braxton. Yes, it has been broken. Braxton Trammell injured his shoulder in practice last week. He was the projected shortstop for this team, so that is he was projected shortstop, corner, infielder. We really don't know. Not even the great Stephen Igo does not know if Braden Burris will be playing second base or center field. So they still have some shuffling there that they need to figure out. And as all ECU teams are, Reed knows this, how the lineup from the opening weekend is never the one that finishes the season. So especially with Cliff Godwin. So they have a lot of pieces to move around. Trammell was a massive loss for them. People are saying it's kind of going to be okay, but I think when you lose a power bat like that, he missed half the year last year, but was batting 340 and through half the year as a freshman. So
the start he had the last year, he was one of the few bright spots at the start of last season offensively.
Yeah,
as a freshman,
and
as a freshman too.
So
maybe
curious
Boucher comes back to short.
I'm right now, from what I've heard, Boucher is the backup first baseman and going to be a relief pitcher for the Pirates this year. So kind of just an all-around veteran guy kind of role, but really looking forward to seeing what this team does. I'm curious to see what Sean Jenkins' role is this year. He was a Saturday guy last year. I think they'll be moving him to the pen because of the addition of Gavin Van Kempen and Brett and Tolip coming back from A&M, sat out last year. So they are very deep on the mound, and they kind of really don't, in my opinion, have a Saturday or Sunday guy. So my thing is like, if you don't have a guy, if you have too many guys, do you really have the guy? So that's something that they have to figure out. So, but then again, Reed, and we'll wrap up. We'll close up with this. ECU will find out soon what that rotation is when you got Xavier, the Clare Classic, Carolina, and Coastal Carolina the first month. So
yeah, I think it's a good issue they have right now with all these different options. I think it's going to bode well for them.
100%.
So who's still in shortstop with Trammell getting hurt?
Jacome, probably.
Shortstop right now would predict Carlos Yakime or Matt Lashley, who's another transfer I did not put on there. So it really just depends. Burris has played there. Colby Wallace has played there.
Does Joey Berini have any?
Does Joey Berini have any? No, Joey Berini.
I hope not.
Hey! If we're talking about Joey Berini, we need to see if Zach Agnos can come back from the Rockies play shortstop.
Is that how we're going? Yakime over Jacome?
That's how Cliff said it on media day. So that's what I'm going. So now the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, the national runner-ups last year, they have a lot returning, but also they are also losing a lot. Was Jacob Morrison a first-round pick last year?
Yeah.
So it was a first-round pick, Jacob Morrison. Was Bodine a first-round pick, or was he later?
Yep.
Was he
Bodine and Morrison were the two first-round picks.
Two first-round picks there. And Colby, I'll let you lead off of this one this time. Just with what they're returning in Barthel, Flukie, Ryan Lynch, Carbone, one of the best bullpens in the country. And you have Barthel, we talked about last night, his plays versus Auburn, that super regional. And just kind of that core coming back and knowing that you've made it that far, you know that it's in you, but also, Colby, going from the hunting to the hunted is very tough.
Yeah, I like the saying. You said it on multiple shows. It is different. You're now going to be getting everybody's best shot, and that's different than it was last year. Obviously, you got everyone's best shot in Omaha. The whole regular season up to that. Yeah, I think they'll be good. Should win the Sun Belt. I think Southern Miss is going to be pretty good in the Sun Belt as well. It's a good thing about the Sun Belt. They're going to get challenged. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously lost Bodine and Morrison, two first-rounders. So I'm high on Kevin Schnall, though. I think he can coach, and I think the Chanticleers have a path to Omaha.
100%. Braxton, we'll let you go second here, sir. Just what part of this team would you like to touch on?
Yeah, I mean, I think their pitching is arguably better than Carolina's and State's as well. I mean, I know we said maybe Carolina might have the best staff. I think Coastal might have one of the best staffs, if not the best, in the Carolinas. Fluky is going to be really, really good. We saw what he did in the national championship series against a lineup like LSU. I think there's a lot of people, in the college baseball media that are higher on this team this year than they were last year, which is crazy to say because we know how good they were last year. But I think a lot of people think they might be even better, which is scary to think about. We talked about, I think me and Reed off stream, we talked about their tough opening, month or two of their schedule. They have a very tough first 20 games or so. So we're going to see how well they play, how good they are pretty quickly. But then again, like once they get into league play, if they can just get hot in the Sun Belt, like kind of like they did last year, where they got hot, they couldn't lose. I mean, think about how hard it's going to be to beat this team 2 out of 3 times. And I don't care who you are. Like with this rotation and this lineup and this coaching staff, and now they've kind of got this aura about them almost too, where it's like, we're Coastal Carolina, we're nearly 2-time national champions, mid-major. Like they've got a huge fan base now. Like they're going to be tough to beat for anyone. So I think that they're going to be just as good, if not better, than last year, and that's scary to even think about.
And one thing about last year's team, they were also severely underseeded, in my opinion. They were the 10 seed, if I'm not mistaken, right, Reed?
Yeah.
Did we lose Reed? Is Reed frozen?
Y'all got me?
Reed. Oh, he's back.
He's back. Reed, what are your thoughts on? Yes, Reed, what are your thoughts on the Chanticleer, sir?
Yeah, sorry there, lost connection for a second. Braxton, Colby make great points. I think this team has a chance to be better than last year. Like you said, very scary to think of. Obviously losing Bodine is a huge loss, but I mean, they really bring back most of that lineup too. But I want to talk about, they bring in Jordan Taylor over from Stetson, a proven hitter. Rex Watson hit for a lot of power at San Diego last year. I think those two will fit really well into that lineup. They didn't hit for a lot of power last year to begin with. So bringing Taylor and Watson in adds more power to that lineup. Maybe Barthel can get back to hitting double-digit homers this year. I mean, and then obviously you have Thorndike and Walker Mitchell, Dean Milos too, all good pieces. And then like Braxton said, I think Coastal. It's tough for me to choose, right? It's tough. I'd 1A and 1B, Coastal and UNC pitching. Wise, Fluky's going to be dominant this year. Carbone is unhittable, was last year. Ryan Lynch was sensational at the bullpen. But I'm looking forward to their stern non-conference schedule they have this year, especially coming up here in a few weeks when they go out to Texas and play in the Astros Stadium.
Yeah, I'll touch on them lastly. This is just going to be a phenomenal team once again. Just can't understate Kevin Chenal, just how good of a job he's done taking over for Gilmore just in his first year going to Omaha. And I mean, just the sky's the limit with this team. They've won a national championship. It's there. It is in their DNA. They have the pieces to do it. They have the coaching staff to do it. They might do it next year. And finally, go ahead.
Let me add something. You think this year, guys, if they had to come around selection show, they're sitting with a similar record, how they did last year. I mean, I think we can all agree they got hosed of not being a top 8. You think last year, after what they did in the NCAA tournament, the committee would seed them as a top 8?
100%, if not top 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm just curious. Does anyone know? Reed, you might know this the best. What was their 2017 season like, kind of coming off of that national championship run? Did they kind of fall back a little bit?
I don't think they were that.
Because that might be a tell. I don't think they were how this season might go.
I don't think they were. I'll check real quick. I don't think they were that good.
Pull it up and we'll talk about Wake a little bit.
But I do know that team that won the Natty was a very senior-led team. They were a very veteran.
37. I mean, yeah, they had a good year. I mean, 37 and 19.
What regional were they in? Someone.
Didn't make the tournament. They got left out.
Wow. Okay. Maybe they made. Wouldn't that be something? They come back and don't make the tournament this year. That would be unreal.
That would be shocking.
I doubt that.
Yeah.
All right, last team preview. As we're going on 50 minutes now. Wow, that was long, but I guess we just love
All
talking
good.
ball, which no problem.
Oh, good.
The Wake Forest Demon Deacons, Tom Walter in his 17th season, coming off a 39-22 season. They're losing the first player drafted from the Carolinas in the draft, Merrick Houston, bat 350 last year, 15 home runs, 66 RBIs. Also bringing in another guy that we are very familiar with, Cam Bagwell from UNC Wilmington. 9-2 record last year, 3 ERA, 62 Ks, and 85 innings pitched. Also bringing in some other offensive weapons. Boston Torres, shout out him. He followed us and liked us on Twitter. So shout out him. Looking forward to see what he does this year. I'm just going to let this out there. Whoever wants to take the floor, take it on Wake Forest.
Was Bagwell? Did Bagwell not throw a no hitter last year, or was it a perfect game? I can't remember.
No hitter.
It definitely wasn't a perfect game, but it was a no hitter. Yes.
Yeah, I think he's a solid addition for them. Obviously, the pitching lab, we've gone on about it. That type of deal they got over there in Wake. I'm huge on Cade Lewis as well. I mean, he could be the Merrick Houston of this season. I love this player. He's from the left side as well at the plate. I think he's going to be a high draft pick if he has a similar season to last year. Dalton Wentz as well. I'm huge on him. Freshman standout last year for them. I think he's going to take another big jump. He's a kind of a dark horse for me to win ACC Player of the Year, maybe even Golden Spikes type level player. That's a crazy take, but it could happen. 13 homers as a freshman. Austin Hawk as well, kind of a veteran presence. I didn't realize he had that many home runs last year. He used to play at North Carolina as well. He's now at Wake. His brother is more known kind of there for the Deeks back when they were very, very good and going to Omaha almost every year. But I think he's going to be a nice veteran piece as well for them in that infield.
Colby, your thoughts on the Deacons, sir?
Yeah, we talked about it tonight with teams being potential hosts like State, ECU potential hosts. Obviously, I think Coastal and Carolina will be hosts. I think Wake Forest fits in with State and ECU as potential hosts when we come May and June. So I like this team. I like Tom Walter. I like Cam Bagwell. I mean, that's a stud you're bringing in from just 2.5 hours away from Wilmington. I think he's going to be the anchor in this rotation along with Morning Star. So I think they got all the pieces. Obviously, lose a little bit with Marie Houston and Ethan Conrad in the lineup and Jack Winnie with 15 homers. But Wake Forest still hit. I mean, that ballpark's made for hitters. And then you add in Bagwell and Morning Star in your rotation. I think they'll be very good.
Yeah, the couch is a launching pad for sure. They also tweet out great social media videos. So shout out to the Deacons for great videos.
Great jerseys.
And they just did y'all see the Krispy Kreme, the hot now? Pretty sick. Also something we did not touch on, pitching coach going down the road, Reed, to the Duke Blue Devils, which is an interesting move, I guess. I mean, so Reed, your thoughts on that and the Demon Deacons?
Yeah, I mean, Mascara did a really great job with Wake over his years there. Obviously, coached some very good players, including Rhett Lauder a few years ago too. But I like this pitching staff they've put together. You know, they kind of struggled last year. That's why, things didn't always click for them last year, why they really didn't host a regional. But, Morningstar, he really ended the season well. He started off kind of rough, got roughed up in some starts to start the year. But, I mean, you look at his numbers, sub 4 ERA. I think he's due for a big year this year. Matthew Dallas can have a better season this year too. Then obviously, how will Bagwell transition coming over from the CAA to the ACC? I mean, that's going to be a big adjustment. But yeah, Braxton, I mean, like he talked about, huge fan of Dalton Wentz. I think he's an absolute stud. He's going to have a huge year. Same with Cade Lewis. Luke Costello, he's not on, or he's right there. Another guy that hit double-digit homers. Watch out for his younger brother. I've been hearing big things on him. Andrew Costello was a top draft prospect in the 2027 class, but reclassified. Wake staff has been raving about him. I think the Wake will be right there, like y'all said, to potentially host come the end of June or end of May.
That is correct, sir. And that will do it for our previews tonight. I do want to touch on one more. There are two more. What do you want to say? Power Four programs, whatever you want to call it now. Power Four, Power Five programs that we have not previewed yet, and that is Duke and Clemson. Those will be out tomorrow. Be on the lookout for those. But we're going to touch on Clemson here quickly. I mean, they have been a phenomenal program the last couple of years. Eric Bakich has done a phenomenal job. So, Colby, I'll let you touch on the Tigers briefly, sir.
Yeah, Bakich, phenomenal coach. What season is this at Clemson now? 4, 5, 6?
6.
6, I believe.
I think it's 4th. I believe it's 4th.
It's
his first year was the year I was
in there.
Okay, yeah, 4th.
Okay. Yeah, he was obviously phenomenal at Michigan. Not a school known for baseball, get to the College World Series final, but has done a spectacular job at Clemson. I'm sure their fans are a bit upset at the previous postseason hosting regionals and not getting out or losing the Super. But obviously losing Cam Canarella, but returning Aiden Canuck. He's going to be a big-time pitcher in the ACC once again. And, I'm high on Clemson this year. Obviously, we'll touch more on them next week and the preview when they get released tomorrow. So I like Clemson. I think they're also in that group with State, Wake, ECU as potential hosts. So I like Clemson. What about you guys?
Reed?
Yeah, I'm high on them. Obviously losing Canarella, staple of the program the past 3 years, is a huge loss, but you get Kanak back. You have Jaron Purify back, Gerald back too. There's a lot. Luke Gaffney back if he can have a better year. Kind of struggled last year. Colin Priest too. But I think Bakich did a really good job in the portal. You bring Lichtenberger over from App, a proven hitter in the Carolinas too. Ty Daly hit for 19 homers last year at Mercer. Savory coming over from Loyola Marymount, 20 home runs last year. The offense kind of struggled at times last year for Clemson. Not that many guys on the team batted above 300, which I think Bakich definitely wants more of this year. Obviously, we know they haven't made it to Omaha in 20 plus years, and that's all what Clemson fans want. Maybe this is finally the year they can get over the hump and get to Omaha.
And Braxton, your favorite player of all time, Cam Canarella, is no longer in Clemson. What is the post Cam Canarella era going to look like, sir?
No, yeah, Canarella. I mean, he's an unbelievable player. They are losing him, obviously, and all of his production and his defense, I think, as well, is an underrated asset of his game. But I think you can bring great points, Reed. I think Clemson, this could potentially be the best Clemson team under Bakich, and I'm saying that because I think they're kind of going under the radar a little bit, and I think that's good for them. I think when they had guys like Canarella and Kanak, who was so highly touted, obviously Kanak's back, but I think there's a little less pressure on him this year. To perform, when they have like a star like Canarella, there's a lot of high expectations on that team to win a regional, get to Omaha. I think they're kind of falling under the radar a little bit this year, and I think that's good for them. I think they have a very balanced and kind of gritty lineup that Bakich is going to throw out there, try different guys in different spots, and they're going to be really, really good. And I think they're a dark horse to make Omaha finally get back there this year. So we'll see. But yeah, obviously look out for that preview coming tomorrow and many more over the weekend as we inch closer. But
yeah. Well, Canarella really last year didn't hit for a ton of power like he did his first 2 years. I think he was only hit, what was it?
Yeah, five home runs.
Five home runs last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have our first comment in the chat and last comment. LOL. Upstate beat Clemson the year new coach come to Clemson. So
yeah, I was on that team. It was awesome. Shout out.
right.
I think it was Noah Sullivan that might have got the win that night, who's now on Mississippi State, of course.
Shout out.
Mm-hmm.
So we did have plans to do the preseason poll kind of look around, but we are at an hour. We will go over that next week with our predictions, as it will be Christmas Eve, our next show on the Thursday right before opening day. Looking forward to that so much. We have so much content planned out for you guys. Be sure to follow us on Twitter or X, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit. Subscribe on YouTube, like, comment, interact. We have power rankings coming out. We have our all Carolina teams coming out. We have a nice budget Carolina team. We also have our 3 bold prediction posts that we are currently working on that we are going to have. And folks, we have tons of content for you, tons of stuff here at Carolina Curveball. Folks, we cannot wait until the season. Reed, last comments as we inch closer to the 2026 college baseball.
Just count one more week tomorrow. I'm just counting the days down. Can't wait, boys.
Colby?
Yep, on the same page with Reed. Countdown is almost over.
Braxton?
Yeah, just we'll throw this out there. Super Bowl Sunday. Obviously, this will be the last I talk about football, which I don't even do that anyways very much on here, at least. Drake May is going to win it. Super Bowl MVP. I'm calling it now, and it'll be baseball season Monday morning. We won't talk about it anymore. That's all I got.
Shout out Tedward McMillan winning Offensive Rookie of the Year, and I have the Seahawks winning the Super Bowl. Reed, Colby, Super Bowl picks.
Give me the Pats. Drake May, MVP.
Colby?
Colby's going to Seattle.
Seahawks, good.
Seahawks. So we got a 2v2 battle here.
I like the under.
Thank you, Sir Tobin. Folks, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it so much. Like I said, be sure to follow, like, comment, subscribe, do all those things, interact, share with your friends, share with your mom, share with your dad, share with your sister, share with your cousin. Show everybody that you know Carolina Curveball. Thank you, folks. We will be back next Thursday, Christmas Eve, before the season. Prep for you. Everything prepared for you for the season. Good night.